Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at this Your Overseas Home webinar. My name is Richard Way. I'm part of the content team at Property Guides and Your Overseas Home, and I'll be hosting this session. Today, we're focusing on the 3 golden experts that you'll need to help you buy safely in Italy. That's our chosen country today, Italy. So it's great to have you all with us today. You'll obviously have an interest in Italy and La Dolce Vita and finding your perfect home in one of those beautiful corners of Italy. So hopefully this will be a useful tool to set you on your way. Whether you're watching live as well, or whether you'll be watching this on catch up. So we've got 45 minutes today. If we go over a bit, that's because we've got so many great questions and so much knowledge to share with you. And there'll be lots of chances for you to ask your own questions, which you can do by using the chat box, which you should see on your desktop. If you just type it in there, I can see that, and then I'll feed the questions to the relevant panelists. And if you do need a reminder of anything that we've talked about today, or you want to share the session with friends or family, a replay of it will be available on the Your Overseas Home website, which you can watch at your own leisure. So I'm very pleased today to be joined by 3 what we call golden experts. What I'm going to do is just say very quickly, introduce them very quickly, and then they'll each say a little bit about who they are, the company they work for, the services that they can offer, so how they can help you. And then if we haven't got any questions by that point, I'm going to fire some at them and hopefully warm you all up, and we'll start a good discussion. So first we've got Paul Harris, who's from Smart Currency Exchange. Paul, do you want to give us a wave? You can see us, yeah. Smart are the headline sponsors of today's webinar. Paul's been working with the foreign exchange in the foreign exchange market now for 8 years, and helping people like yourselves to move their money to and from Italy in the best and safest way possible. Paul and his team, the Smart team, were based in London in the UK, and he presents regularly at these sorts of webinars and exhibitions and emigration events. So he's a dab hand at this type of thing. And then moving across, we've got Manlio. Manlio is a solicitor. He's from a firm called C Legal, and he specialises in conveyancing or buying real estate and international corporate law as well. In particular, cross-border real estate transactions. He's been working in real estate for many years now in collaboration with companies as well. So he's got a nice broad experience of conveyancing with a corporate edge to it. And he's also experienced in setting up businesses. So if anyone is thinking of moving to Italy to do that, then he's the guy to help you. And his experience spreads all over the world, not just helping British people, but other foreign nationals who are buying and moving to Italy as well. And then next along is Filippo Corri from Great Estates. Hi, Filippo. I need to say as well, you're both in Italy today, aren't you? So that's very kind of you for joining us from Italy itself. Filippo is bilingual as well. He's graduated in French and English languages and literature from Perugia. But he's always worked for international companies, so he's got a lot of experience in working with foreign nationals, but he's worked in real estate since 2011, and he's been with the estate agency Great Estates since 2016. So those are our 3 panelists. So let's just start off with you, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Hi there. So can you just give us a quick introduction to Smart, what its core services are, what its main selling points are, and why people listening today should be thinking of using Smart when they buy in Italy?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. So just a little bit of background about Smart. So we, as Richard said, we're a foreign exchange specialist. So our main aim is to help you with the mechanisms of actually transferring the funds into Italy, and doing it in the most cost-effective way, and taking as much of the risk out of the actual transfer itself. That comes from the actual security of the transfer, but also the risk of potential market moves as well. And that's where we sort of pride ourselves on the overall service that we can offer for yourself. We've helped in the past over 40,000 people actually transfer funds for property purchases. So we see ourselves really as one of the market leaders in that industry. And our whole team have a vast experience in the whole buying process in Italy and obviously countries across Europe.
Great, thanks very much. Manlio, do you want to tell us a bit about Sea Legal and the main areas, the main services that you offer to our typical listeners, people looking to buy in Italy?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, joining us this webinar this afternoon. Our law firm is based in Rome. Basically, we are also the desk office also in other regions of Italy, such as Puglia, Ostuni, that is really famous for international investors, and also in Sicily, Palermo, and the north area that's close to Syracuse. And we'll open really soon in Tuscany, in Lucca, in the area of Lucca, because we receive many for international clients buying a property also in Umbria, where Cyprus came from. We assist many foreign clients in cross-border real estate transactions throughout Italy, basically. Also in Lombardy, Venice, Veneto, Calabria, we are able to assist them and secure the real estate transaction with the closing. When the clients have to look before purchasing a property in Italy, there are many things to check, and we have advised them not only in negotiation, purchasing a property, but also, for example, as buy the property in Italy, as an investor, as a company, you would like to set up a business activity in Italy, how to move or to relocate in Italy, you need which kind of visa you need, which kind of taxation. So we assist through the process of the transaction, but not only in the purchase process. Basically, also after, also how to protect your assets with your wills, if you obtain it, or you have a foreign wills, and you have also to protect it with your property with in Italian wills, basically. So we assist the foreign clients basically throughout the country and in many fields.
And it's fair to say for most listeners, I'd imagine they're not bilingual, they're not fluent in Italian. And if they start out buying in Italy and the first stage, they have to sign the first contract and it arrives in Italian and they don't understand the process, they don't understand the language in front of them. Most of us are entering into this, almost blind. So having someone like yourself who understands what you're signing and then will do the necessary due diligence is absolutely crucial and why we're classed as one of the golden three experts.
It's not only linguistic barriers, but also international taxation, international legislation. So we speak English, French, and Spanish. So we assist many foreign clients.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I've just seen we've got a question in about visas, actually. So we'll come back to you, Manlio, in a minute. That's from Francesca Benison. But Filippo, could you just tell us about the main the services that you offer at Great Estates? Where does your service sort of begin and end? When do people first make contact with you, and how involved are you in their search for property?
We are hi everyone. First of all, well, we are probably the fun part of the process, as we are home seekers and advertising houses and make people dreaming, and hopefully get with them till the end of the process. Great Estate is a network of agencies. Our main branch is in Tuscany, in Siena province, but we do cover the whole central Italy, so Umbria, Tuscany, Marche, and Lazio. And we do have branch offices also in Puglia and Piedmont. And we follow the buyers since the first inquiry, which may come directly from our website or through portals or to other tools. So we are ready to answer to their questions. And normally the process is first the email or telephone, and then a visit in person or by remote, as we did during the pandemic. So our work has changed a little bit, but it has worked very, very well, because 2021 was probably the best year in 12 years in Italian market, and it's now boosting. The good news is that the prices are still low compared to other markets, but probably it will go up in the next months, years.
That's interesting. So the market is very strong at the moment. And is that British people, or is that international, mix of international people, buyers?
I have to say that British in percentage were much more present before Brexit.
Yeah.
And so it's more international. We are dealing with international clients from all over the world, US, but not only, also Middle East. And a strong part is in Europe, obviously. We can say that 80% of our clients are foreign buyers. But in the last months, also a lot of Italians has come back to invest in the Greek.
Yeah.
And so it's a very vivid market, hectic, I would say, at the moment. Still, it's a buyer's market at the moment, but because of the scarcity of houses that we are experiencing now, probably in the next months, as I was saying, or years, in some areas, in niche markets, already the prices are going up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are you finding many British buyers are looking to different areas of Italy, or were they still looking in Tuscany, Umbria, and I know Puglia has been popular over the years? Is there a better spread of interest now, or is it still the favourites?
Well, I must say that the areas are more or less the same. Okay, the number of people from Britain, British people are always fond about probably the same good locations. In the north are the lake districts, like around the Lake Como or Maggiore. In central Italy, where we are, it's basically in Tuscany. Everyone has the dream, the stereotype of the house on a hill with the Cyprus alley. And so that's where most of people are starting. And but other regions which have been a discovery in maybe 2 generations ago, so in the 70s and 80s, like Umbria and Marche, are now not only an alternative, but more or less have a specific market for those areas as well.
Okay, thank you. Right, let's look at some of these questions. One for you, Manlio. It's from Francesca Benison, and she said, if you apply for the Italian investor visa and you receive it and buy a property, but only spend 5 months of the year living in the property, living in Italy, is that okay? Do you remain a non-tax resident in Italy? So you spend 5 months of the year.
Yes, it's okay. You do not become a tax resident in Italy. I confirm. You need to spend 6 months plus 1 day to become a tax resident in Italy and worldwide. This is the international principle. Worldwide.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And I suppose the other thing we should point out, assuming Francesca is a UK citizen, we don't know this, is obviously the new 90, 180-day rule as well. If you want to spend 5 months in Italy, currently you can't do it in one stretch, can you? You have to split the 90 days across the 180-day period.
Yes, if she's British or a citizen from not European Union, she has to split 90 days and
over the rolling 180 days. Yeah,
I confirm. 90 days and going back and forth.
Excellent, thank you. So the answer is no, you wouldn't have to be a tax resident if it's 5 months in the year. Yeah. Okay.
I confirm.
Thank you very much. And then this, another one from Glenda here to Minello. I'll read the question and then I'll see who thinks. It's probably either Manlio or Filippo, but she asks, what are the creative ways or means of financing a property in Italy as our primary residence? that would expend the least amount of cash. So basically buying with a mortgage, a primary residence as a mortgage. I guess that's talking about with putting the least amount of deposit down. Is what sort of mortgage deals and sort of eligibility is it at the moment? Filippo, do you know? Are you doing many mortgages? What sort of deals are available?
Very roughly, and then probably Maglio is more skilled on this than me. Very roughly, realistically, you can apply up to the 50% of the value for the mortgage.
Okay.
For a foreign buyer. There are higher rates, but as a first house, so you'd be a resident and for resident people. Realistically, for my experience, then I don't know if Maglio can confirm or not, I have seen that banks, Italian banks, are financing persons, not companies. So it's important this because in financing an English company or a foreign company would be difficult or rather impossible, but a person, physical, private person is possible, and realistically you can obtain up to the 50-60% of the total value of the house. Then correct me if I'm wrong, Maglio.
Yes, no, different banks require different conditions for obtaining mortgage in Italy. Some banks require that at least you reside in Italy from 2 years. Some banks are more do not require this requirement, but normally is 60% of they finance 60% of the value of the price process, right?
Okay, and if you're moving over, we don't know the situation of the listener, but if you're moving over as an early retiree or just someone who's leaving Britain to move to Italy without, for example, work, is it going to be possible to get a mortgage? What will you need to get a mortgage in Italy?
Well, they need all the documentation from the salary for the employer.
So you need employment
employment contract, translation.
Yeah.
Basically, all the banks require that is a permanent contract, not shortly. For example, it's permanent workers.
Yeah.
And many banks require, as I mentioned, as I told before, that you reside in Italy almost from 2 years from the application of the mortgage. Other banks not only all the banks, but some banks yes. Like the most important one, Intesa San Paolo, for example.
Okay. Thank you. Just quickly, I've got a question on mortgages. Can retirees who are 72 years old get mortgages? 72-year-old retired people. Would it be possible?
And not easy, but it can be possible.
It's a case by case thing. Yeah.
Yes, it's tricky, but
yeah, you get the right people, then it might be possible. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
It depends also how much is the pension.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to find some other ones. There's a lot of legal and residency type ones as well. But let's look at this one. We've mentioned Brexit. Tony Laporta asks, with Brexit, is it becoming much more difficult to obtain permanent residency in Italy? So this would be for UK citizens. What are the requirements to obtain residency for a UK citizen? I don't mind. Filippo, do you want to say something? And then Manlio add. I mean, are you getting clients who are applying for residency or visas when they come to Italy? You must be seeing that with UK clients.
But probably Maglio is more skilled than me on this.
Okay.
In the past we had, but after Brexit, I'm not sure. So I don't want to say anything which is not correct.
Fair enough. So what are the options, Manlio? How does a UK citizen? Well, yes, absolutely. I can confirm that now, unfortunately, for British citizens, it became more difficult to obtain a visa. There are other options. One of them is, for example, obtain visa for elective residency. You need the possession of the house, also for if you rent, to buy property in Italy. In every municipality, in every region of Italy, you can apply for Italian visa for elective residency, but you need some requirements. The Italian law requires, for example, that you have 50,000 euros per year. You are not able to work in Italy, also remotely by the law. Even if it's difficult that they check, there's a difficult. You cannot work with this kind of visa. You can stay more than 90 days. Each year you have to renovate this kind of visa, and it belongs for. It will be available for 5 years. After 5 years, you can also, in 10 years, you can apply for Italian citizenship. That is also a good opportunity. Also, for example, other kinds of visa are, for example, visa for investors, or if you set up a new company in Italy. If you set up a new company in Italy, the legal representative or the sole director of the company can obtain the visa for business. So there are other kind of visa for British. They can very welcome to come, but they should apply for specific visa that what they need and what they apply for the specific condition.
And just to be clear, these rules are the same because someone's asking about American citizens. It will be the same for American citizens because UK citizens are now the same. Have the same status as American citizens.
It's the same as UK and American US citizens, the same situation. Okay.
Thanks very much. I've got another question, but just before we look at some of these other questions, I just want to bring in Paul. So going back to Smart Services and what they do, you help people when they first buy in Italy, obviously moving required funds over to Italian bank account. What are the different ways of contracts that you can do with your service? Because you can forward buy, you can do spots, you can mix it up a bit. And then if you could also just say how you can help people once they've moved to Italy, because your service, obviously you can help people with regular payments and income when they're living in Italy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you rightly said, we do forwards and spot contracts. So I'll explain just briefly how they differ. So a spot contract is a popular product of ours for sort of smaller transfers and quick transfers. Essentially, a spot contract is if you speak to us today, we agree an exchange rate with you today, transfer the funds straight to us, and we transfer the euros straight out to Italy for you. So really quick process. We can get the money into Italy either the same or next working day. So it's an incredibly handy product in getting the money over quickly. If you've got deposits to pay quickly or just small payments, that can be a really popular product. But for property buyers, we find that the most popular product is actually the forward contract, and I'll explain why that's a bit different. So I'll give you sort of a real world scenario. So for example, you've found the property in Italy and you agree the price, you sign on the dotted line, you've got your price fixed in euros. So you know how much your property is costing, and that cost and price is fixed. So you know that the property is costing you X amount in euros. The one thing you don't know is how much that's going to cost you. Let's say you're based in the UK and you hold pound sterling. You don't know how much that's actually going to cost you in pound sterling until you fix an exchange rate. So, for example, if you sign today and you may have 3 months before completion, you're happy with today's exchange rate, you're comfortable with how much things are going to cost you, obviously in euros, but also now in pounds, we can fix today's exchange rate and we don't pay for the full contract until the completion date. So we take between a 5 and 10% deposit on that just to hold the exchange rate for you. And then on completion date, you pay the balance. So the main benefit there is it gives you complete peace of mind that you know how much the property is costing you in euros, but you also now know how much it's actually going to cost you coming out of your bank account. That's the most important thing. Obviously, you've agreed your price already in euros, but the cost is going to be in your bank account where you currently hold the funds. So it really does take that risk away. So if the market was to drop at all, you're fixed in at that exchange rate. So you're completely locked in. You don't need to worry that the prices are going to change for you. We've got a couple of other options as well that are orders. So we can do an order to buy or an order to call. So if the exchange rate isn't exactly where you want it to be, and you want to aim for a slightly higher exchange rate, we can certainly do that as well. So in order to call is essentially, the market at the moment today, we're around the 120 mark, but you're aiming a little bit higher. We can put a marker in for you and aim for that rate. When that rate's achievable, we'll give you a call and have the discussion again at that point if you wanted to book a transfer. Similarly, order to buy works exactly the same way, but we'll hold the funds for you ahead of time. So when the exchange rate is available, we'll just book the transfer in. The one thing we can't guarantee with those orders is actually getting to the exchange rate. So it does carry a little bit more risk because the rates could go down. They might not actually reach the height that you're looking for. So that's why the forward contract is so popular. But again, if you wanted to sort of hedge a little bit, we do have clients that will book part of the contract on a forward contract and then maybe target a slightly higher rate for the second half. Something we can work with you and be completely flexible with on those purchases. And just second part of the question, just to go on how we can help afterwards. We know that the property purchase sort of journey doesn't end when you buy the property. It's obviously going to be follow-on bills that you might need to pay. You may be buying it as a holiday home and renting it out, so you have payments coming back the other way. We can work with you on those bases as well, but we have a really popular product, which is the regular payment plan. So if you have regular bills or you've moved out and you have a pension, we can set that up on a monthly standing order or bi-monthly standing order, depending on your requirements. And again, fix the exchange rate for you, so you know exactly how much things again are costing. If it's bills, then you've got X amount it's costing you in euros. That's going to be fixed at a pound sterling price. And similarly, if it's a pension amount, you know how much is coming into your pension. You know how much you'll be getting in euros. So we'll support you throughout that whole journey. And again, you can fix that exchange rate for up to 24 months on the regular payment plan. So it can, again, just give you complete peace of mind that you're not going to be losing out at all if we were to see any declines on the market.
That's great. Thank you. That was very clear and comprehensive. We've had a handful of people asking, I think you've answered it probably, but why should, or how does your service differ from their banks, their high street bank, if they were going to opt to use their bank to send money to Italy? I mean, I don't know, would your bank offer these forward contract type options? And just outline the main reasons that someone should use smart currency exchange over a bank.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons is absolutely that they wouldn't offer a forward contract. It is all on a spot basis. But the two real key things are the service that we can offer for you and the sort of guidance that we will give you on the transfer. So we'll let you know where the rates are, if it's a good time to transfer, or potentially we're at a bit of a low point and we could potentially work with you and wait on a transfer. You wouldn't really get that from a bank. So if you're walking into a bank, you might speak to someone, a personal account manager or cashier. They'll just be looking at a price on a screen. They may not have any experience in FX. I mean, they might do, but you'll be working with an account manager that's looking at the markets all the time. They'll be able to really give you a guidance and sort of that expert advice throughout the whole process. So it gives you that security that you've got and a bit more peace of mind that you're speaking to someone that really understands the process and knows what they're talking about. But ultimately, most important thing is it's more cost effective to use ourselves. We can make the cost of it much cheaper for you, and the exchange rate will be more favourable as well. So all round, we can sort of beat the banks. That's why we exist over the banks.
And obviously, your contact points at Smart as well make it very efficient and reassuring, because you can literally get on an email or phone, pick up the phone, and you're immediately through to someone who's going to deal with your request, your requirements, rather than going into a branch and you know, you might have to wait to be put in touch with the right person, or you might have to get in a queue on the phone. Whatever it is, it's such. I mean, I've used it myself, and it is a very fast, effective, and one-to-one service. So, which makes a lot of difference when you're moving large amounts of money. Okay, got some more questions about visas and business type things, so we'll come to those in a minute. But Filippo, we haven't really talked anything about the actual process of choosing and finding the property that you might buy. So and a part of that is a viewing trip, actually going out to Italy, looking at properties with one of your agents. Could you just talk us through a typical situation where you might have opened a relationship with a client in the UK, perhaps done some Zoom calls or talked on email, and then you get to the stage where they're ready to come out and actually view properties? How does a typical trip like that work?
Yeah, typical. Then each client and each process is different, but more or less the process is that obviously a client is browsing, and already browsing in Italy could be tricky because there is not a multi-listing service as in the US, for example. So you can spot the same house in different portals, different agents, at different prices sometimes. And so it's a little bit of jungle. But let's admit that after you find your way, you decide as a client to contact us, typically via email, sending an inquiry for a specific property, asking, I don't know, if would it be possible to build a pool there, for example, something like that. And we try to answer as soon as possible via phone, telephone, or via email to get in touch and better understand what are your criteria, your needs. Once that we know a little bit more about what you are searching, then we can offer a list. So the aim is to arrive to a short list of properties. So out of 100, like 10, and on this 10, a short list of 2, 3 properties, 5 properties for a trip. And I was saying before that in 2020, 2021, it was also typical. And we sold some properties only with a video call. And this was exceptional the first time, but after selling 2, 3, 4 properties like that, you really feel that the world is changing. But hopefully, luckily, we are coming back to also to see properties for real, and we are happy to meet a client because after tons of emails and phone calls, it's the one-to-one relationship. It can be done on the spot. And so typically we arrange 1 or 2 days, and once that if we find one that the client typically needs always a second viewing, it starts the process of a draft of an offer, and there are several ways to approach that with a preliminary or going to a notary. But the very first offer can be done in different ways, like, I don't know, letter of interest or an offer, and this to bind parties basically, because once that you sign a contract and you put your conditions, that can be to obtain a mortgage, for example, or I buy if it's possible to build a pool, whatever. So we, together with the buyer, we draw up together the offer, and once that we agree, me and the buyer, because I'm only following buyers, not the sellers, we forward to my colleague who's managing the property in order to see if we can close the deal. If normally there is a negotiation with a written offer is much easier rather than with a phone or email. Also because normally we require that a minimum deposit, a part of the deposit goes into our escrow account, and then if all the conditions come true, go to the seller as part of the deposit. Mm-hmm. To cut a long story short, okay, so there are 3 passages: law offer, preliminary, that can be also together. Once that the deposit is credited, and normally is between 10 and 20% of the full price, then after typically a couple of months, if all the paperwork is done, the deed can be done at the notary. I was reading one of the questions was concerned about what is possible to build, etc. This is a very important part.
A swimming pool, for example, that's a popular thing. Yeah,
swimming pool, but also the building itself.
Okay.
Because most of the times, proprietors are not aware, also in good faith sometimes, that the house is not perfectly matching with what's on the official plans, and that there is always something, I don't know, a window, an opening, or this room is not a bedroom, but it's a storage officially, but you put a bedroom. So there is always something to fix before. And an important thing is to find an agent that checks the house, the property, before placing any offer. Because sometimes it may happen that you do the whole thing, and then in front of the notary will do a further check, because the notary is representing the state. Let's say that he has to secure the deed and is finding the problem. So we try to avoid this, checking before checking the problems if there are, before putting on market. So we can say when we are with a client, everything is okay except for this bathroom that needs an amnesty, and the surveyor of the property is already in contact with the municipality, etc. So it will take 2 months, 3 months more than the standard course, but you will be sure that everything is complying. So it's could be the standard process, which can be very long, also 1 year, if there are several steps to be taken.
What's an average duration for a transaction to complete? From
the offer to the deed, our average is between 3 and 4 months.
Okay.
Because also you have to consider the properties with land.
Mm-hmm.
There is the preemption, so agricultural preemption, and the neighbors having title. Not all the neighbors, but the farmers have the title to be informed about the sale, and they have a preemption in buying. So when you are selling your property with a contract, you have to say, dear neighbor, I'm selling this. Would you be interested? You have 1 month for your right. So 30 days is just for that. This happens only with agricultural properties, okay? Not with flats or whatever. But there is another preemption with the historical apartments, also historical properties. The state has a preemption. Never happened because the state has no money at all, but it's longer. It's 60 days. So sometimes it can be longer, but we can say that for an apartment, you can do it very quickly, like 1-2 months. Everything is okay. A farmhouse with some land, 3 months average.
Okay, and presumably you're employing someone like Manlio. He's going to be checking these things as well. The discrepancies in the contract. Because one of the questions is, how do you make sure?
So you would when the client appoints us, we carry out due diligence, as Filippo correctly suggested. Carry out due diligence before making any. Well, if the contract or the offer is not under any condition precedent or suspensive condition, the contract is binding. So we advise the client to put on the contract a clause of the condition precedent to carry out due diligence, appoint a local surveyor, a check or for a site inspection of the property, and we also, for our side, will carry out a legal check on the property. If there are any liens, any mortgage, any other constraints, basically. This is basically the process. Once everything is in order, we following the process with notification of the preliminary contract, for example, to information also the preemption rights that only the neighbors, if the status of farmer, are entitled to get the preemption rights. Not everybody, but only if at the status of farmer in this case. Basically, the amazing places, the amazing masserie, the amazing villas in countryside are agricultural destination from the zone planning. So the seller has to notify the neighbor. In any case, it's better to notify them, because you cannot check for the title deed of the Visura Camerale, Visura Catastale, etc. the title. So it is better to notify in any case. We suggest also the clients, we agree the preliminary contracts with the clause that safeguards the interest of the client. We negotiate also the clause, terms and conditions. And we go further with the process, and we represent also the clients in front of the notary office, and we act basically with the power of attorney. We already completed hundreds of transactions completed remotely. So also during the pandemic, we completed transactions remotely. In Italy, it's not possible to sign the final deal electronically, but you have to appear in front of the notary physically. The notary represents, as Filippo correctly said, represents the state. We represent our clients, and with the power of attorney, we issue a power of attorney that is special power of attorney only for this specific deed, and we act and we represent the clients. We pay on behalf of the client, the buyer, with the check, or use our escrow account or the escrow account of the notary. We review also the final deed, because in some case you have to review if it's compliant to what you agreed before. And finally, your journey is completed, and you can enjoy basically the dolce vita here in Italy.
Okay. I've got a question for you, Paul. Actually, but before we do that, I think it will be useful, Manlio or Filippo, just to give an idea, guidance on what extra costs, purchase costs, people should budget for when they're buying in Italy. So, can you give a percentage on top of the agreed purchase price that someone should expect to pay to complete the transaction? I'm talking about taxes, talking about your
Filippo,
fees.
this one is for you.
Okay. You have to consider,
because we are higher cost in the transaction.
And actually, as part of that as well, could you talk about agents' fees? Do buyers pay them, or do the vendors pay them, or
Yeah.
what's the
main difference? The main difference about fees is that in Italy, both seller and buyer are paying a fee. Okay, it's not like I don't know, in the US or even in England, which I think only the seller is paying a certain amount. Here in Italy, both buyer and seller are paying a fee, and there is not a fixed rate by the state, but there is what is called a common use, which is around the 3% and 3%. These are the standards. Then there are agencies
For both sides.
Sorry?
For both parties.
Both parts.
Seller
Three buyers
buyer.
and three sellers.
I see.
This is the typical standard rate, the most used rate at the moment, let's say. But there is not a law by the Italian government to have the exact percentage. So there are agencies who are asking much more, and someone much less. So again, it's the discrepancy of the 50 shades of gray which we have. But basically, for extra costs, you have to consider three things. Okay, the agency fees, the notary fees, and the taxes. All these, the taxes are depending
And lawyer.
on various facts. Who is buying a private person, a company? Who is selling? And then what kind of property, luxury property, commercial property, etc. But to give you a very rough idea, between 5 and 10% on top of the price, you should have covered all the costs. It means that if you spend 100,000, you are pretty sure that between 105 and 110, you have covered all the extra costs. This very roughly, okay?
Okay. So in a typical purchase, British person buying a second home in, for example, in Tuscany or Umbria, it's a farmhouse, a typical stone farmhouse, farmhouse, and they're buying it from an Italian family, you're looking in that ballpark, are you? 5 to 10%.
You have to consider basically 5 to 10% on top of the price that you pay.
Yeah.
Yes.
When does it get above that? What are the cases? What makes it more expensive? Your purchase costs? Which situations, or is that the extreme 10%?
There are also lower cases. For example, if buying as a società agricola, as an agricultural company, where the taxation is lower. I'm not saying that it's between 5 and 10. I would say that probably 90% of transactions are in these brackets.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
So you can consider this as for a second home. Okay.
Yeah.
Lower is if you're resident and you benefit of a lower taxation. Okay, but the notary's fee will be the same, agency fee will be the same. So the only difference will be the taxation.
Right. Okay, and obviously there'll be fees from
the taxation. I would from the lawyer, we charge normally 1% of the purchase price.
Okay.
We are launched recently legal fees up below 1,000 K, but normally above this price is 1% of the purchase price. What is important to underline is that the property the taxation is calculated not for the purchase price, but from the cadastral income, from the cadastral income that is different from the purchase price. That in Italy is really low. It's calculated on this in this base.
Yeah.
So the taxation is below. It could be 2% if you move the residence, and if you buy from a private person or from a company, that is different. It could be 4% and 10% from a company, from a builder, for example. So the taxation is different. We charge 1% of the, but we carry action. We represent the client, the best interest of the client without any conflict of interest, and we assist them without any problem, safeguard their interest until the closing.
Okay. I'm just conscious of the time, actually. We are over, but I just want to talk. There's a couple of questions I want to address. There was a few about rentals in Italy. So if you buy a property and then you want to do holiday lets, what are your tax obligations in Italy? How do you file your tax return? And when, how does that work?
It depends what kind of rentals we are speaking about. Typically,
holiday let, short-term holiday lets.
Short-term holiday lets, you have to pay the taxation on your revenues, on your income, to the municipality. So you have to declare your activity. And it doesn't need to be. You doesn't have to transform your private house into a hotel or whatever. It will rest a house, a private house. But you declare to the municipality that you are renting it out, and you are paying the taxes on the revenues. So typically, it's about depending on the regions, municipalities, etc. So normally, you have to consider around 20-25% on the incomes.
Is there a minimum
in our area?
22.
Yeah.
22. Cedolare secca. Normally.
Yeah. This is. Then, if we are speaking about other kind, agriturismi or other activities, it's another matter. Okay, or hotels, it's another matter. But for private house, B&B, also a house can be a B&B or weekly rentals. Is quite easy. You don't have to. Just to declare your activity and to pay the taxes further to the property taxes. Obviously, if that is your second house, you would pay the yearly property taxes, which are, compared to other countries, really low in Italy. We are speaking about hundreds or some thousands, even for a farmhouse, the typical farmhouse in stone, etc. In the worst case, a second home, a house I've done recently for a client of mine, 300 square meters with 1 hectare of land, pool, etc. It's not a luxury house, but it's a villa, and he's paying around 2,000 per year as a yearly property taxes.
Okay.
Not non-resident.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a quick question for you, Paul. Someone's asked about using a forward contract with a mortgage. The wording is, can a mortgage also be financed with the forward contract? I'm not sure if they mean your mortgage payments. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, if it's mortgage payments, then yes, that's totally fine. So if you've got a mortgage in Italy, then yeah, we could the product that we could do would be the regular payment plan that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, that would be absolutely fine. We can do the repayments as we can help with the repayments of the mortgage through us. Yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Yeah, and if it's a deposit, then obviously you'd for a mortgage you would obviously be used for sending the funds for that. So I think they must be talking about the monthly payments. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's the monthly payments.
Okay,
then yeah,
great.
yeah.
Absolutely. And we haven't really talked about power of attorney. That's a good question. Would an English-speaking real estate agent, someone like Filippo, provided with power of attorney, be able to represent someone making a purchase? So does that happen? But we have said that you need to be the notary in person to complete.
Yeah.
Can you not give power of attorney, or to your lawyer? You might do it to your lawyer actually, or your agent. Does that happen?
If the client has someone with trust in Italy, obviously the power of attorney can be done to that person. I have done representing just the buyer, because one of the questions is the conflict of interest. If both buyers and sellers are paying, who's representing who? And for example, in our agency, our structure is a network of agencies. So there are agents who only acquire and follow sellers, and per agents like me, we are only following buyers. So it's the same network, but we are representing differently. And the notary is not that happy if in general, if the agent is having the power of attorney. So it's really an extreme ratio. It happened just once because we had to do the deed and nobody was available. But correct me if I'm wrong, Manlio, it should not be the agent because it is a part involved in the deed himself.
Yes, the contract could be void also in this case because there is a conflict of interest. Yes, that was recently. That's why lawyers represent also without any conflict of interest. Also at the final deed, we appear many times as a legal representative of our clients.
Yeah, normally law solicitors are doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, we also draft.
And can you arrange power of attorney with an Italian solicitor who's in Italy from the UK? I know you can do this from Spain. If with a Spanish solicitor, you have to go to the consulate in your country. Is that something?
No,
so if you can't...
no. We draft many power of attorney. We send worldwide. We already received the power of attorney from New Zealand, Australia, California. We liaise with the notary public in order to receive the cadastral information, the exactly cadastral information that would be indicated in the power of attorney. Also, the representative that could be the lawyer of our firm, also their colleague, the cities that we serve our clients throughout Italy, and we guide our clients, assist the clients in getting a valid international power of attorney, because the process is also quite longer. Because you need to notarize the power of attorney in your country. Some countries require apostille. Some other countries like Belgium, France, Germany, do not require a procedure because there is a special treaty with Italy. The procedure is faster. So every country is to verify
Right.
which power of attorney has to be correctly drawn up. That will be drawn also in the language of the buyer, the notary in that country that knows. After that, after the apostille, we received back the power of attorney, and we translate and we sworn at the court, at the tribunal, with the legalization, and then we provide to the notary office, or to estate agents, etc. By the way, what about procurar, power of attorney.
So
we have many clients also with the power of attorney. Yeah.
It's quite easy, relatively easy, and in a couple of weeks you can do it. If it's not in Egypt, for example, like I did, it took 2 months, but we did it.
Oh, really? Okay.
In Egypt, I think through the embassy. I think I don't remember well, but it should be through the embassy, Italian embassy.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah.
Well, very quickly, because we're well over and we're approaching the hour, and it's getting close to dinner time, especially for you guys. You're an hour ahead, or you eat later in Italy, I know. But this is a good question to end on. Since the pandemic, what are prices doing in Italy at the moment? This is Francesco Pepe asked this. Is it a good time to purchase? Well, it depends on your situation, but they're coming down. Is that
during the pandemic, for the first 6 months of 2020, everything was stuck, obviously, and it happened that the Italian market since 2008, when it was very high, inflated, then for the last 14 years has always going down very, very quickly, and now very slowly. So as I was telling at the beginning, it depends on the number of properties on the market. Now there are more buyers, and obviously the number of houses is decreasing. So probably we are very close to the break-even point. It is still a good moment to buy, because it's not a seller's market still. Probably it according to the sinus, it should be, but at the moment we are still having a lot of properties for sale, and so the prices are not rising at once, for sure. But in some areas, some places, also in the big cities, prices are going already up in some areas. Okay, so I guess the key message is if you don't buy now, it might be a bit more expensive next year. The property you want. Okay. Okay, well, that's really useful. Thank you very much. I should point out that all the panelists' details are going to be sent out via email tomorrow. So anyone listening who've got other questions or they want to start talking to them about their Italian purchase, you can contact them direct. So that'll be coming out tomorrow. So thank you very much to Filippo, Manlio and Paul for your time this evening. I found it interesting.
Thank you.
I hope our listeners have. It's been very useful. Thanks to all our viewers and listeners for joining us and sending us your questions. I think they've been useful. The answers have been useful for everyone, hopefully. Good luck with your plans to buy in Italy or move to Italy. I should also point out that Your Overseas Homes, we've got other resources that you can use for your research and to help you with your purchase, such as guides and other webinar recordings, which you can find on the website. So have a look at those. And we've got more webinars coming up, so keep your eye on the emails alerts that we send you, and hopefully you'll come back and join us for more stuff. There's plenty more stuff to talk about. We haven't talked about things like the tax rules and the lower taxation for retirees in southern regions of Italy. I'm conscious of that. There's a lot more we could have talked about. hopefully we do more of these and cover some more specific topics. And that's it for me. There's going to be a link coming up after this when I finish talking with just outlining the other resources and the email alerts you're going to get. So you'll see that, and please do make use of everything we've got. You can't be too prepared for a purchase abroad or in Italy, and use the guys that we've spoken to this evening because they're experienced, and they've worked with hundreds, thousands of people who've bought in Italy already. So they really will help you to make a success of your Italy adventure. And that's everything from me. Thanks again, and have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.